Hello students, this is my new next session of online classes. In today's online class, I will discuss digestion in humans. This is the topic of second chapter of 7th class. So students, in this session, I will discuss about the digestion in humans. We know that the process of digestion begins in the mouth. It means buccal cavity. The chewed up food mixed with saliva is pushed into the food pipe or the oesophagus when we swallow it. In mouth, saliva contains salivary amylase which digests food. This oesophagus is a muscle pipe that is about 10 inches or 25 centimeters long. Students, oesophagus is also known as food pipe. Once food has entered the oesophagus, it does not just drop right into your stomach. Instead, muscles in the wall of the esophagus move in a wavy way to slowly squeeze the food through the oesophagus. This squeezing makes sure the food goes only one way. This esophagus does not have any enzyme. This squeezing is so important that it has a special name, peristalsis. These are the peristaltic movements which occurs in food pipe or oesophagus. With all this, it takes about 2 or 3 seconds for the food to reach the stomach. The stomach is attached to the end of the oesophagus. It's a stretchy sac shape like the letter U. Students, this is the shape for stomach, which is a U-shaped. It has 3 important jobs or uses. First is to store the food you have eaten, to break down the food into a liquidy mixture, and third is to slowly empty that liquidy mixture into the next part, small intestine. The stomach is like a mixture, churning and mashing together all the small balls of food that came down the esophagus or food pipe into smaller and smaller pieces. This is the function of stomach. It does this with help from the strong muscles in the walls of the stomach and gastric juices that also come from the stomach wall help in the partial digestion of food. The stomach also secretes a mucus, a liquid substance that protects its own muscles from the gastric juices. Inside the stomach, proteins form the food breakdown into simpler substances. So students, from the stomach, the food goes onward into the next part of this alimentary canal, and which is small intestine. This small intestine is a 22 feet long tube, so it is not actually small. It is packed inside you beneath your stomach. The small intestine breaks down the food even more. The small intestine allows 3 more digestive juices to mix with the food so that it can extract all these things. Do you know which juices mix with the food in the small intestine? Yes. Students, bile is a digestive juice made by the liver that mixes with the food in the intestine too. So, students, this is the first secretion which mix with food. The bile helps to absorb fats into the blood, and in addition to this, it causes emulsification of fats. It means longer fat particles break down into simple particles. Bile is made in the liver and stored in gallbladder. The second digestive juice is the pancreatic juice, which is secreted by pancreas, and these pancreas are leaf-like structures. The pancreas is located just below the stomach and secrete pancreatic juice. Carbohydrates, fats and proteins get digested because of the pancreatic juice, which is secreted from a leaf-like structure known as pancreas. As the partially digested food reaches the lower part of the small intestine, the intestinal juice, which is produced by the intestine, mixes with the food that completes this digestion of food in intestine. So students, carbohydrates are broken down into simple sugars such as glucose. Fats are broken down into fatty acids and glycerol, and last one is proteins, which are broken down into amino acid. This digestion occur in small intestine. Your food may spend as long as 4 hours in the small intestine and will become a very thin watery mixture. It's time well spent because at the end of the journey, the nutrients from your pizza and orange juice can pass from intestine into the blood. So digestion is over. Now for the next process, absorption. The digested food now has to go into the blood. How does that happen? Through the small intestine itself or anything else? Yes, this absorption occurs due to finger-like projections which are present inside the small intestine, and these projections also have blood vessels around itself. As the digested food moves around the villi, they absorb it into the blood. This blood, filled with nutrients from the small intestine, goes to the liver. The liver is a filter which takes out harmful substances from the blood. Liver turns some of the waste into more bile. After the process of absorption, the cells use the nutrients which are digested in small intestine for growth and repair. This is known as assimilation. Students, now question arises, and what happens to the leftover waste which is present in? Next is large intestine. It is about 8 cm round and 5 feet long, just like small intestine, also packed into the body. This waste needs to be passed out of the body. How it passes out? Before it goes, it passes through the part of the large intestine called the colon, which is where the body gets its last chance to absorb the water and some minerals into the blood. This is large intestine. As the water leaves the waste product, what's left gets harder and harder as it keeps moving along until it becomes a solid. Yes, it's poop, also called stool, or this is also known as bowel movement. The solid waste stays here until you are ready to go to the bathroom. When you go to the bathroom, you are getting rid of this solid waste by pushing it through the last part of this alimentary canal, which is known as anus, and passes outside the body. The process of removal of this undigested solid is known as digestion. So students, oesophagus connects the mouth to the stomach. Gastric juices in stomach help to kill germs in food. Stomach churns the food and turn it into a thick liquidy paste. After food leaves the stomach into small intestine, the intestinal juice which is produced in the small intestine, the bile which is produced by the liver, and the pancreatic juice which is produced by the pancreas, which help in complete digestion of food. Substance get absorbed into the blood and go to the liver. Liver checks the blood and remove harmful material from blood. The leftover food goes into the large intestine. Water from the food is absorbed into the blood here. The remaining solid waste is passed out through the last part, anus. So, students, that's all for today's class.